Hey, what up, y'all? It's your boy Scoob, and welcome to Spider's Diecast. Thank you all for your patience, and thank you all for joining me this evening. So, anyway, headed to Walmart, this morning. Well, this afternoon, I'd say. But, there wasn't really, much on the pegs anyway, because, at my Walmart, there ain't really, a whole lot of nothing there anyway. So basically, that's why I don't really go over there that often. But I like to, take a little peek every once in a while. So that's what I did, and I needed to buy some other stuff anyway. A few more pairs of jeans, pairs of socks, that sort of thing, and some more plates for my barbell. 45s. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you this crap. Unfortunately, no Ferrari, but it takes a while to show up. That kind of stuff to show up anyway. So yeah, this is all my stuff. Just so you won't be staring at the screen looking at nothing. So the first thing first is this Renault Espace F1. If you don't know anything about the Renault Espace, it's basically their minivan. It's been around for some time now. I think it even predated, the Chrysler minivans that came out back in the 80s. But anyway, this is the one that they made in the 90s. But they kind of, souped it up a little and made it, more Formula One-ish. Okay, they got some little fun facts. All right, born 1995 in France. The designer, of course, is Renault. Okay, feel the speed in this one-of-a-kind MPV that features a chassis and mid-mounted V10 engine taken straight from the Renault 1993 Racer, producing 800 brake horsepower and 520 foot-pound of torque. This force of nature, lives for the track. So, I picked it up because, it was just something different. I am not a van man. I don't, have any vans in my collection except for this one. Out of, I say, almost 20 years of collecting, this is the first ever van that I put in my collection. Well, actually, this is going to be customized, like I said earlier, and probably sell it off. But anyway, it's got that, it's got that hypercar vibe to it. So that's what drew me to it. It got Espace F1. Nothing on the back, which is standard fare for Hot Wheels mainlines. But, it got a little something on the front. Headlights. The Renault badge smack dab in the middle. Don't mind my dog out there. She just likes to run her mouth. So, yeah. That's another reason why I bought this. Because, that engine inside is supposed to be somewhere in the back seat. But, it's so dark in there, you can't really see nothing in there anyway. But I definitely can't wait to, crack this open. Drill this apart. Definitely gonna change those wheels. Definitely put some carbon fiber on that wing. So yeah, pretty nice. This part is plastic, by the way, that black part. So yeah. Probably talked a little bit about this a little too long, but it is a new model. So, whatever. Yeah. Part of the interior, this black part, I should mention. So, yeah. the Renault Espace F1, folks. Alrighty. So yeah, I bought 3 of these. This is my 1963 Mercedes-Benz 230 SL. You know, I customized one of these last month, but you know, hadn't showed it yet because I had some problems with my alloy wheels. They just didn't. I kind of pushed the rims in a little bit, you know, too far in, so they're basically, you know, ain't no good. Definitely gonna show that custom once I get some better wheels for it. But anyway, you know, this is, you know, a car that most people are gonna sleep on. Yeah, especially if it ain't JDM. But I love the classic European stuff. That's probably, I say lately, that's been my favorite thing to collect. As long as it looks good to me. So yeah, got another one of these and another one of these. I think these were all the ones they had. So I said, I'm not, you know, I'm not one to, you know, take all of one, you know, casting. But, you know, in this case, these been sitting on the pegs for way too long, I suppose. Ain't nobody gonna buy these anyway, so I might as well take all of them. Especially since, you know, I live down south where it's mostly about muscle cars anyway. So yeah, I should crack one open, you know, just for ceremonial sake. So yeah, that's what it looks like. They did a really good job on this one, though, I have to say. I'm trying to get that glare out of the way. So yeah, pretty nice. I love my pagodas, which is what they're called. So yeah, pretty nice. Alrighty. This is, you know, is Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GTA from the Fast and Furious set. Pretty old set, by the way. So yeah, I love this casting. You know, big Alfa Romeo fan. But, you know, I never really been compelled to pick this version up because, you know, even though it is from the movie, it really wasn't, you know, I really wasn't feeling, you know, the stripes. Definitely wasn't really feeling, you know, these wheels, even though these are, for this car, period, correct. But, you know, that's all going to change. Here's all the other cars in the set. Wouldn't mind having that RX-7. Wouldn't mind having all of these, actually. Even though I already got that Skyline from a couple of years ago. That Impala looks sweet. So yeah, that's basically, you know, what this is. Yeah, we can open this because, you know, I'm going to drill it and strip it anyway. So yeah, you know, not bad. So yeah, pretty heavy with the metal base, of course. So yeah, there's my Giulia from the Alfa Romeo fam. The last thing I picked up from Walmart was these two. These Aston Martin Vanquishes from the 007 set. Die Another Day. That movie. I don't know. I just like that movie because Halle Berry was in it. So yeah, I already got one of these from my last trip from Walmart. But we can open this up. In fact, I'm gonna open all of these up after I get done, recording. So yeah, definitely another heavy one, another heavyweight with the metal base. So yeah, pretty nice, pretty sweet. Vanquish, that's one of the beauties of the early 2000s, from one of the early mid 2000s cars. Pretty nice. So yeah, pretty awesome. There's the other one. And then, that's not all, folks. We got one more thing left to mention. Got this in the mail today. This package. So I already took it out. But I got this right here, which is my Maserati Ghibli from this brand called CCA. CCA Auto, I think. You can find a lot of these on stuff like from eBay to Temu to AliExpress. Found a lot of these on AliExpress. But, I just didn't pick this one up, when I had the chance. They're all sold out on there. You can still find them on eBay, but, you're going to have to spend a little bit. So I needed this just because, it was a Maserati. I made it a point to collect, as many Maserati castings as I can in 1/64th scale. Pretty underrepresented brand. Very underserved community. The Maserati fans like myself. The downside of that is, anything that's Maserati is going to be, pretty expensive. But, the good news is that, the bright side is, there's not that many of them. So it makes it somewhat easy to collect from that side of things. I'd say that, excuse me, just stuttering a little bit, tripping over my words, but, what I was about to say is, it's pretty nice, for something that was, a cheap Chinese brand. It's actually, better than, I'd say, Hot Wheels or Matchbox combined. Because, it's got, Matchbox gonna give you the painted headlights and taillights. Hot Wheels tend to skimp on that. But you got, a crazy amount of detail, actually. They painted all of that in the grill. And did it all perfectly, too. These wheels, they kind of remind you of Matchbox wheels. But, it looks pretty good. CCA. So, yeah, this is not the Ghibli Coupe, which is from the 60s, which is my favorite out of all of them. My favorite of the bunch. It's not the Ghibli from the early 90s. But this one, it kind of holds its own. This one is the four-door sedan. In fact, on my way to Walmart, I actually saw one of the real ones in town, in black. So, that was pretty sweet. I ended up getting this one, delivered to me today. So, yeah, I knew that was going to be a pretty good day. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. Didn't really mean to hold y'all this long, just a bunch of stuff that I really already got. So, yeah. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Definitely appreciate your patience. So, I'm going to have a lot more stuff coming in pretty soon. I already got another thing, but I'm going to leave that as a surprise. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. But I'm going to get around to showing y'all that. So, anyway, I'm going to get my butt on out of here. I'm going to see y'all later. And have a good one, folks. All right, y'all.